Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd. We're back in Farpoint Studio as the storm has passed in all of this area. Our opening pictures are of Galveston Island, the beach there, on Saturday morning. You can tell already that there was a storm out there. Later on, I have some pictures from 4th of July fireworks that they did on the beach, which was kind of interesting to see. Anyway, time's past tense, the name of this episode. And we have, as we left off, where Cisco assumes the identity of Gabriel Bell and proceeds to do what Bell did, which was to organize an information campaign in order to persuade the population at the time to eliminate these quarantine zones, these areas that are holding the unemployed in essentially encampments. And what we see here is the kind of stuff that you don't usually see in Star Trek. There is a hostage situation, and there's people to deal with from the locals there, some who think that violence should be the way, and of course our main characters doing everything that they can to avoid as much bloodshed as possible. They negotiate. They try to have a moving on plan. Bashir is able to use some of the resources there to help some people medically. And so the acting is like you would see in a police procedural, really, from the victim's point of view, interestingly. And it's done very well here. Avery Brooks, once again, shows a great deal of restraint in how his character reacts to what would seem barbarism to anyone who lived in Star Trek's time. And even Bashir, later in the episode, is unable to understand why something could have been that way. They don't go without changing minds of some people who were kind of cynical and hardened by it all, but at the same time, it was all believable. It was done without too much of a flight of fancy. We had Dax, who was able to be rescued by a wealthy industrialist who controlled the internet or something, and that made some of the things possible that might not have been. But they didn't have any devices that they could hack into the equipment with, any high technology that they could use to try to change things around. This was just using their wits and their long-held beliefs on and what they know about history as to how this was going to turn out. It gave them the certainty that what they were doing was the right thing. And so it's a most interesting time travel story because we know how history is supposed to turn out. We know how it got interfered with, but at the same time, by the end of the episode, we realize that probably Cisco and Bashir and Dax were just part of that history. And it's one of the 3 or 4 different ways that you can time travel. One is where you actually do change history, but you change it for the better. One which everything was as it was and you're just a footnote to it. Or one where it creates parallel universes. And in this case, there's no parallel universe created. Cisco and Bashir were simply part of it. And you realize how history can be corrupted by the well-meaning sometimes, and I found that to be kind of interesting as well. So once again, incredibly well acted by all concerned, and not as far-fetched as it really could have been. The best thing to kind of know about it is that in 2024, which the year they depicted back in the 90s, did not happen that way. It's not to say that our society is without problems now, but not quite as militantly bad as it was depicted in the show. And so we're thankful for that. And sounds like our hens have an egg. So I'm going to let you go for now. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, don't go far.